The morning sun slants through the half-open garage door, casting long shadows across the floor. Sawdust hangs in the air, clinging to my sweatshirt. I grip a 2x4 that refuses to fit where it's supposed to, the diagram in front of me barely making sense. The table I imagined in my mind now looks like a pile of mismatched lumber. I set the board down, and that feeling hits frustration, the weight of wasted time and pressing down on me. That's me. Ever wonder if it's really you, or the plans you're following, that's holding everything back? Most people in your position assume the problem is their skill, or that they need more expensive tools, or just more patience. But what if the real culprit isn't you at all? For decades, hobbyists and weekend woodworkers have struggled not because they can't build, but because the plans they rely on are incomplete, missing measurements, steps that jump from one task to another, and material lists that assume you already own every specialty tool. Let's call it the incomplete plan problem. I've been there myself. Over 25 years, I've taught hundreds of students across the country, and I've seen the same thing over and over. You're set up to fail, not because you lack talent, but because the guidance is broken. Scenario 1. A beginner decides to build a small bookshelf from a plan found online. Everything looks good, nice layout, pictures included. By step 3, something doesn't line up. One shelf sits slightly higher. Screws don't match the diagram, and the back panel won't fit. That bookshelf, meant to be a weekend project, now costs double in lumber and frustration. I must be doing something wrong, they think. The lie is they aren't. Scenario 2. A retired electrician, 2 years into woodworking, sets out to build a shaker end table using a Pinterest plan. Tenon dimensions are swapped. Widths where thickness should be. Lumber wasted, hours lost. His internal monologue echoes. I must be missing something. But the problem isn't him. It's the plan. Scenario 3. A hobbyist with a half-garage setup tries to build a wall-mounted tool cabinet. He has limited space, basic tools, and a rough diagram with assumed steps. The boards don't align, the hardware is off by a fraction, and suddenly the project stalls. I'll never finish this, he mutters. And here's what all three of these situations have in common. Every failure traces back to the same villain, the incomplete plan problem. The missing steps, vague measurements, and assumption-heavy diagrams aren't errors in skill. They're systemic. And this is where most people make a mistake that costs them months. They assume more tools, more time, or more experience will fix it. It won't. What nobody tells you about small shop woodworking is that clarity of plan matters more than anything else. The part that surprised me most was realizing how consistently these flawed plans cause frustration, no matter the skill level. After enough failed builds, I started asking a different question. What would it look like if the plan worked the way it should, from start to finish every time? The principle I discovered was simple yet transformative. Build first, write second. Each step tested on a real workbench, in real conditions, by people of varying skill levels. The measurements double-checked. The tricky joints rethought and rewritten. Scenario 1 resolved. The beginner bookshelf plan included every step, every measurement, and a clear, cutting list. The project finished in a single weekend. Boards aligned perfectly, and confidence replaced frustration. Scenario 2 resolved. The retired electrician's shaker end table was redrafted from scratch. Dado widths verified. Tenons dimensioned precisely. He completed it the next weekend, proud to see it standing sturdy and exact. Scenario 3 resolved. The half-garage hobbyist built a wall-mounted cabinet using a plan designed with tight spaces and basic tools in mind. No extra trips, no wasted wood. Every screw accounted for. One example that sticks with me. A customer needed a corner cabinet for an awkward 34-inch kitchen space. Nothing in the library fit. He submitted a custom request. 2 weeks later, he had a plan tested and built in our workshop, perfectly tailored to his space. Not theory, a finished working design. The approach that finally worked isn't magic. It's a system, a library of plans, tested before you ever touch a board. Plans designed for every skill level, every budget, every shop size, even half a garage. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. Never guess what happens next. You might be thinking, I don't have the space, the tools, or the experience. Will this work for me? Yes, it works for the first-time builder, the weekend hobbyist, and the small shop woodworker. A half-garage setup, a folding workbench, basic table saw and drill. That's enough. Social proof. Carol Brewer, a beginner with just 6 months of experience in her first table saw, built a small bookshelf using these tested plans. Not perfect, but standing and appreciated by her family. Tony Russo, also new to woodworking, completed a nightstand following the color-coded, step-by-step instructions, all from a plan that assumed no prior skill. Here's why it works. The plans aren't drafts. They're finished instructions. Every joint built, every cut verified, every step rewritten if confusing. You aren't buying theory. You're following a blueprint that's been proven in a real shop multiple times. Imagine the next 6 months if you stick with incomplete plans. Half-built projects sit in corners, lumber wasted, weekends lost. You buy another plan that looks good online, only to discover steps skipped, measurements wrong, frustration mounting. Nothing gets finished. Now imagine taking one step, access to a system of 16,000 tested plans. One weekend, a completed project stands where once there was only chaos. The next project begins immediately, using precise cutting lists and schematics. A month later, your half-garage isn't just organized, it's productive. Confidence replaces doubt. Satisfaction replaces wasted time. You've already been doing the hard part, learning, trying, measuring, cutting. The plans just haven't been keeping up with you. Look back for a moment at all the failed projects, the wasted lumber, the abandoned tools. That wasn't incompetence, it was effort. Proof you want to create something real. Now look forward. The next step is simple. One library, fully searchable, step-by-step, designed to work in small spaces. Start building immediately. If you want to see what I use for every build, I left a link in the description. And if this video helped you understand how to finally make your small shop woodworking work, like, subscribe, and comment below with the project you're ready to complete next.